She thought she was invincible. She forgot she married a man who noticed everything. This is the story of how I got my silence back.
After finding men's lubricant in her purse, I opted for a toxic revenge, super glue. Now, I'm waiting for the inevitable, messy fallout of my secret switch. My name is Marcus Webb, and I want to be clear about something before I begin. I am not a violent man. I have never raised my hand to anyone in my 39 years on this earth. I coach Little League on weekends. I hold doors open for strangers. I tip 20% even when the service is lousy. So understand that what I did, what I planned times, did not come from a place of rage alone. It came from something quieter and far more dangerous. Cold, patient humiliation. Sandra and I had been married 11 years. 11 years of what I genuinely believed was a solid, unremarkable, beautiful life. We had a house in Columbus, Ohio, with a porch swing she picked out and a backyard I spent 2 summers perfecting. We had a dog named Biscuit, a retirement account, a standing Friday night dinner reservation at the Italian place on 5th. We were, by every observable measure, fine. The unraveling started the way it always does, not with a bang, but with a small, strange wrongness you can't quite name. She started keeping her purse closer to her body. Not dramatically, just a slight repositioning whenever I walked by. A woman who used to leave her bag sprawled open on the kitchen counter like it was a communal item, suddenly treating it like classified material. I noticed but filed it under times nothing. That's what decent people do. They extend the benefit of the doubt over and over like fools handing out free samples at a grocery store. Then came the late evenings, a book club that seemed to meet with increasing frequency. A new friend named Gina from work who I never met and whose last name Sandra never mentioned. Texts that required her to leave the room. I kept filing things. The folder was getting heavy. The night everything changed, I almost missed it entirely. We'd gone to a birthday party for her coworker, one of those suburban backyard affairs, with string lights and a cooler full of craft beer. Sandra was animated all evening in a way she rarely was around me anymore, laughing loudly, touching people's arms. I watched her from across the yard and felt something I hadn't expected. I felt like a stranger watching a woman I used to know. On the drive home, she realized she'd left her jacket inside. She went back alone. I stayed in the car, scrolling through nothing on my phone, and her purse sat open on the passenger seat beside me. I wasn't looking for anything. That's the part I keep turning over. I wasn't snooping. My water bottle had slid under the seat, and I leaned across to grab it, and that's when I saw it nestled between her wallet and a crumpled receipt. A small bottle, men's lubricant, the kind with the dark label, not the gender-neutral stuff. Specifically, pointedly, unmistakably times men's. I set it back exactly where it was. I sat up straight. Sandra came back 2 minutes later, jacket in hand, chattering about something someone had said, and I drove us home without a single word out of place. I said goodnight, I brushed my teeth, I lay in the dark beside her, and stared at the ceiling while she fell asleep in under 4 minutes. The folder didn't just get heavy that night, it exploded. I spent the next 2 weeks doing what men like me do when we're in denial. I looked for alternate explanations. Maybe it was a free sample someone gave her, maybe she bought it as a gag gift, maybe she was holding it for a friend. I built elaborate, rickety little structures of justification and watched each one collapse under the weight of everything I'd already filed away. By the time I accepted the truth, I had moved cleanly through grief and arrived somewhere unfamiliar. Not screaming anger, not despair, just this cold, architectural calm. I started thinking in straight lines. I didn't want a confrontation. Confrontations give the other person a chance to perform, to cry, to explain, to reframe. I'd seen it happen to friends. The cheating spouse cries hard enough, and suddenly they're the one being comforted. I didn't want a lawyer yet. I wasn't ready to torch the whole structure while I was still standing inside it. What I decided I needed was for her to understand, without me ever saying a single word, that the world is not as private as she thought. The bottle of lubricant became a fixture in her purse. I saw it twice more over the following week, same spot, same dark label. She wasn't even hiding it well. That told me something about how invisible she believed I'd become. So I bought an identical bottle, same brand, same size, same label. I sat at my workbench in the garage on a Tuesday night while she was at her book club, and I carefully, methodically emptied it. Then I filled it back up with super glue, the gel kind, slow setting, adhesive enough to bond fingers together in under 30 seconds. I switched the bottles the following afternoon while she was in the shower. Then I put my hands in my pockets, walked to the kitchen, and made myself a cup of coffee. And now I wait. Number, session. 2 of 2. Waiting is its own particular kind of torture when you are the one who set the trap. I go about my days with a performance so convincing I almost impress myself. I make breakfast. I ask Sandra how her day was. I watch television beside her on the couch, our shoulders occasionally touching, and I feel absolutely nothing except the low, steady hum of anticipation. Biscuit keeps looking at me funny. Dogs always know. 4 days pass. Then 5. I begin to wonder if she's using the bottle elsewhere at his place, whoever he is. The thought stings briefly, then hardens back into resolve. I stay patient. I was an only child who grew up playing chess against himself. I know how to wait. On the 6th day, a Thursday, Sandra tells me she's going to see Gina. She says it casually, already halfway to the bathroom to freshen up, the way people announce things they've rehearsed so many times they've forgotten they're lying. I'm sitting at the kitchen table with a newspaper I'm not reading, and I say, have fun. And I mean it in a way she will never understand. She leaves at 7:15. At 9:48, my phone rings. It's Sandra. I let it ring twice, not to be dramatic, just to breathe, and then I answer. Hey, I say. The sound on the other end is difficult to describe. It is not crying. Exactly. It is something more fractured than that. A kind of controlled panic, the sound of a person trying to maintain dignity while standing inside a catastrophe. Marcus. Her voice is tight as a wire. I need you to come get me. What's wrong, I ask. And here is the thing about being a decent man. I didn't have to fake the calmness in my voice. I had been ready for this call for 6 days. I was the stillest I'd been in months. Something happened. I just need you to come. I'm at Riverside Medical. The emergency room. I sit up. Sandra, are you hurt? A pause that contains 1,000 words she will never say to me. Not seriously, please just come. I fold my newspaper. I put on my jacket. I drive to the hospital with the radio off and the windows cracked, and the night air comes through smelling like cut grass and gasoline. And I think about 11 years. I think about the porch swing and Biscuit and the Italian place on 5th. I think about a man I never met in a dark labeled bottle and a Tuesday night in my garage. And I decide somewhere on the highway that I am going to let whatever story she tells me land however it lands. And I am going to say very little. She is in a curtained bay near the back of the ER. Her right hand is wrapped. A nurse is speaking to her quietly when I arrive, and Sandra looks up at me with an expression I have never seen on her face in 11 years. It is the face of someone who has been caught so completely, so cosmically, that explanation has become physically impossible. She doesn't try. The nurse steps out. I pull a chair to the bedside and sit down, and I look at my wife's wrapped hand, and I wait. I made a terrible mistake, she says. Not mistake singular. She means all of it. She means the whole architecture of deception she built while I was tipping 20% and coaching Little League. She is not talking about the glue. I know, I say. She looks at me. Really looks. And I watch the understanding move across her face, like whether slow at first, then all at once. Her eyes drop to her wrapped hand, then come back to mine, and she opens her mouth and closes it again. How long? She asks. Long enough. She starts to cry then. Real crying, not the performance kind, not the kind designed to redirect blame, the ugly, boneless kind that comes when there is nothing left to protect. I hand her a tissue from the bedside table because, again, I am a decent man, and decency does not evaporate simply because someone has tried to make you disappear inside your own life. We sit in that curtained bay for a long time without speaking. Outside, the ER hums its ordinary chaos wheels on linoleum, distant voices, someone's monitor beeping in steady, patient rhythm. I think about revenge, about what it actually costs and what it actually buys. I switched a bottle. I waited. Something painful and embarrassing and deeply warranted happened to a person who was quietly dismantling my world while I held doors open for strangers. And now here we are, and the trap is closed, and I feel not triumphant, not healed, just finally terribly seen. I want a divorce, I say. Not loudly, not with heat. The way you state a fact that has simply been waiting for the right moment to be said out loud. Sandra nods. She doesn't argue. Somewhere beneath the wreckage, she is still the woman who picked out the porch swing, and she knows she has run out of road. I drive home alone. Biscuit meets me at the door. I sit on the porch, swing in the dark, and I let myself feel every single thing I've been filing away for months. And I stay out there until the sky starts to lighten at the edges. Then I go inside, and I start the rest of my life.
Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just a small switch, a long wait, and a quiet drive home all alone.